one trending topic that we're finding a lot of is this idea of emotional blackmail. Can you share with us what emotional blackmail is?
Yeah, so emotional blackmail would be when somebody attempts to control what you feel or do
Mm,
by leveraging what they're feeling
mm,
or what they're going to do. So I want to give an example, or maybe some examples of this, how this would look tangibly. Emotional blackmail is if I have someone come to me and they say, Shaun, you really hurt me, by saying this or doing this to me. I really didn't like that. And I look at them, and I say something to the effect of, well, I don't know how to live with myself now. I don't know
mm,
how, I can't take it. I just don't even know what I'm going to do to myself. That'd be an example of emotional blackmail. What I'm doing is putting up a big stop sign saying, you feeling is not allowed here. You feeling is not allowed here because if you start feeling, then look at what I might feel and what I might do.
mm,
In the extreme, I've had unfortunately people before whose spouses have said things like, if you leave me, I'll kill myself. That'd be another example. That's an extreme example of
mhm,
emotional blackmail, but it's basically that idea that I'm gonna put the brakes on and not allow you to feel and experience what you're feeling and experience. I don't want you to do certain things that I don't want you to do. And what I'm going to use to accomplish that is I'm going to leverage,
mm,
my own emotions and my own behaviors to control you.
mm. Yeah. So how can someone tell if they're being emotionally blackmailed?
Yeah, so I would say probably the most important thing to know first off for yourself is sometimes people get confused and think they're being emotionally blackmailed when their own tolerance for their own emotions is low. And
Mm,
I'll tell you what I mean by that. Some people have a high degree of sensitivity to the emotions of others. So if I have a wife and she has a very sensitive heart, and her husband comes in and says, I'm upset or I'm angry, that triggers something in her, an elevation of her emotions that sometimes is almost intolerable.
mhm,
She feels like she has to do something. She feels like she has to make it right or it's not okay. And what she's doing there is when her husband is feeling, it causes her to feel. And
mm,
so she feels controlled by his emotions, like, great, I have to make it better for him.
mm,
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. So we have to be aware, are we trying to control what we feel by managing the other person? I want to
mm,
differentiate that because there are some people come in and go, oh, I'm being manipulated. And what we find out is they're not actually being manipulated. What they're doing is they're trying to control their own emotions by
mhm,
managing everybody else's.
mm,
So that's probably the biggest thing that I would say. Just know that if that's what's going on in you, we need to talk about that. We need to go there and work on that rather than talking about emotional blackmail. But when it does happen, what you're going to notice when emotional blackmail is happening is the person really that is doing this to you, it's like there's not room for your feeling or your experience
mm,
in the relationship. That's what it's going to be like. There's not room for you to feel what you feel. There's not room for you to do what you would choose to do. That's
mm,
not allowed. It's not allowed. And the one of the other ways that you can tell with that it relates specifically to, there's not room for your experience and your emotion as it relates to them.
mm,
That's really important. So if I have a husband and a wife together and she says, honey, when you look at me like that, when you yell the way that you yell, it hurts me so much. An example of emotional blackmail would be something like him getting so down, I'm just going to hurt myself. No one cares about me, loves me. I fail at everything. Okay, what's the message there to her? Message there to her is, you've just done something wrong. By telling me that what I do hurts you, you're doing damage to me. So don't do that. You're not allowed to have your own feelings and experiences of me, because if you do that, you're doing something wrong, you're hurting me, and I might hurt myself. So that's how to recognize it. You'll feel constricted. There's not room for your emotions, your experience, your actions in regard to the relationship. You basically have to do what this other person wants you to do. You have to have the sense of reality that they want you to have. You can't
Mm.
have your own sense of reality.
Mm. Thank you so much for making that distinction
Hmm.
between kind of like emotional capacity
Hmm.
and, yeah, not having the emotional blackmail piece of like not having the space to feel what it is that you feel.
Hmm.
That's so, so, so good. So, what advice would you give to someone who is experiencing emotional blackmail?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'll advocate for strongly is if you're in a relationship where there's a lot of emotional blackmail, understanding that chances are, most cases, by the time somebody comes to see me anyway, they've been in that relationship for some time.
Hmm.
And being in a relationship like that will wear you down.
Mm.
It wears you down. It just does. And so what we do with that is there's a time where it's about strengthening us again. It's about getting back our own sense of ourself, what we feel, what we experience, and also strengthening our ability to be grounded and unshakable,
Mm.
because this relationship has really worn you down. There's not an immediate path to you've been worn down and you've been hurt. Now get up and run and do what you need to do. We can't do that. We've got to take some time to tend to how you've been hurt and to strengthen you in your own sense of what you're experiencing again. Because again, if this is the dynamic of the relationship, whether this other person is aware of it or not, they have really pushed you to
Mm.
suppress that part of you. And so what I say to you is, get help. And the help needs to come in the form of, like, if I'm sitting down with somebody, it's like, let's start getting into what you're feeling and what you're experiencing. Let's help to strengthen that, because out of that, getting your sense of reality back is how we're going to have to navigate moving forward in the relationship.
Mm. So practical, so easy to understand. Thank you so much. And I think in our culture, we kind of lean towards that idea of, yeah, if there is this emotional blackmail that's like taking place in my life, I'm just going to kind of forge ahead. And I love you talking about pausing,
Hmm.
healing, attuning to that so that you may be healed and you can move forward. And if the relationship is still present, being then able to restore the relationship and,
Yeah.
yeah, or and if not, then being able to move forward as an
Hmm.
individual.